Hi everyone, this is Kathy with Sycamore and Cotton. Thanks so much for stopping by. This week's video is going to be a little different in that it's only one project that I'm working on. I have a lot going on in my workshop area and I've not been able to get down there and work on projects. And this is why. Some of you may know that we purchased this single wide mobile home to turn into a workspace for me as well as an Airbnb. We knew there was some pretty extensive repairs that needed to be made, but we did not realize the amount that we would encounter in the walls, in the living room and the floor, and possibly a couple of other spaces when we get to those. But this is what happens when you buy something in the shape that we bought. But it is ours now and it will look better when we're finished with it. It's just feeling a little defeating right now, but let's get on to the project. I'm going to start out with this box that I thrifted just a few days ago. I had told myself I would not thrift anymore until I'd worked through my stash. So I have not thrifted in probably 2.5 months, I think. And then I just treated myself the other day, if you want to call it a treat, and went to a thrift store and found this box. It is made of wood and it has like a mahogany finish on it. The inside, you'll see here in a second, is nice and clean. I just didn't like that wood finish on it, and so I do like the design that's on the top of it, and I'm giving it one coat here with Waverly's plaster, Waverly paint in the color plaster. It's one of my favorite whites, and see, you can see here how nice it is on the inside. The inside is so nice that I decided not to paint around the edges or those dividers. It's just too risky, I feel. So some of the paint did get on it when I was painting the back, but I'm just cleaning that off with a wet wipe, and I'll be extra careful going around and as I paint the rest. Before I finish this, and I'm not actually finished at this point while I'm recording this, but I may end up going back and painting that. I don't know, but as for now, I'm not. So I'm not really sure what I plan to do. At this point, I knew that I wanted to freshen it up and give it a lighter look because that's pretty dark wood. And so in my thoughts, my original thoughts, I thought I would paint it in this plaster color. It'd take probably 2 to 3 coats, and then I would distress it back. And I really like that look of just some light distressing over the edges and along the applique that's on the front. As I worked on other projects, going back and forth between, as I've mentioned before, I hop around between projects. When one dries, I'll start working on another, and or I'll get an idea of something that I want to start doing right now. And you know, sometimes that's the creative mode just takes over, and rather than the organization mode, and I'm not very organized to begin with. So there are 4 little felt pads on the bottom, and I should have taken those off before I started painting, but I didn't, and so now I'm just using my hair dryer to kind of loosen that glue a little, and then I'll be able to pull them off more easily. So I'm applying the plaster and putting on the second coat by daubing it on so that I don't have brush strokes. And while in that process, I start thinking of some other things that I can do, because I'm realizing it's pretty plain looking the way that I'm planning to do it. Even though I'm going to distress back a little bit, it's still pretty plain. So here I am with a wet wipe trying to wipe back some of the paint, and it really was even kind of hard to wipe back. That Waverly paint dries pretty hard, but in doing that, that's when I decide to add the stripes. And I don't know what happened to the footage of me taping up the sides and painting on the stripes. So here's what the stripes look like. I did use a wide painter's tape, so it made the stripes wider. I could have gotten thinner tape, but I really didn't have any on hand, and I like the wide stripe anyway, so I added it to all 3, the front and the 2 end sides. I left the back of it just the lighter color, but I will go ahead and add stripes to that as well. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Here I'm cleaning off any of the paint that leaked underneath the lid when I was painting. At first I thought that I would paint the inside parts of it, the wood, but decided that'll just get probably messy. And it's a nice dark stain anyway, so I just decided to leave it as is, and I'm just wiping off the paint that had spread along the edges of the lids. Another reason I didn't want to paint the inside of the lid is sometimes the paint will cause it to stick. Even if you leave it dry for a long time in humid climates or something, it sometimes will make it a little sticky, and this is a perfect finish on it, so I didn't want to cause any issues with that. I really like the stripes around the edges, but I decided it needed something more. And guess what? After experimenting with Victoria Mackenzie Childs' style on a couple of other pieces, I decided then to do that same check pattern around the sides of this box. I think it's going to be exactly what is needed, and even while I'm recording this at this point, I still have not finished it. I am still very much in the learning stage of this style, and I'm really surprised at how much I'm enjoying it. There is a little bit of challenge to the squares, but honestly, you can go back and go over any imperfections and make it the way you want to. One thing I did here is I started just by making the 2 narrow strips all the way around the box, and then I went ahead and made the check patterns on this one side just to see how I was going to like it before going any further with it. And I think with this size of checks, it's really good that my stripes on the sides are wider, because if they had been more narrow stripes around the sides, I think that would have been too busy. But I think this actually is turning out well. I didn't plan it, I just got lucky. So I used a pencil to draw my lines and my squares in. Unfortunately, it's a charcoal pencil, or at least a very soft lead pencil that I grabbed, and so it's smearing quite a bit. I will need to stop at the store and get some more of the plaster paint so that I can clean it up a little, but that's okay, because I think once I get the paint in here anyway, that it's going to cover up a lot of the imperfections. Okay, now I can actually show you some of the process for making the pattern. And after getting those lines drawn around and deciding that I like my check pattern the way that it is, I'm now adding the checks around the front. I think it's the front, it may be the back. But what I did was I measured between the inside of the lines, the 2 lines there to the left, all the way up to the 2 lines to the right. And then I'm counting, and it actually turns out that it's an even number of 1/2 inch marks that I'm making. That's my little pit bull Layla crying in the background. I thought she was wanting to go home because she'll usually whine and cry like that, and I found out the next day that she had cornered a snake inside the trailer where my workshop is located. And I know that because, well, first of all, I know she had cornered something, but I thought maybe it was just a little mouse, because I work with the doors open all day long when it's in nice spring weather like we've been having. I found out the next day, though, that it was indeed a snake, because the carpenter who's doing the work for us pulled out a big black snake from the wall when he was discovering a lot of rot that we had in the walls that had to be torn out. So yeah, that was Layla crying, not wanting to go home, not having cornered a mouse, but having cornered instead, I'm sure of it, a black snake. Yeah, we live in the woods, so what can I expect? So what you just saw me do while I was getting carried away with the snake story was I was just freehanding the lines, just real gently drawing up a little line. You know, your paintbrush is going to help make those lines straight anyway. And then let's talk about paintbrushes now. You want to make sure that you've got a paintbrush that's going to be no larger than the pattern that you're making, okay? Because that's just going to cause trouble if you've got one that's too large. You also want to make sure that it's not angled and that it's a flat brush. So as you can see, this one, it has a straight edge, so I can start at the edge of the line, pull my brush back, and I leave a nice smooth edge at the line and pretty much on both sides of the line as well. So this is all me learning as I go. So if anyone has information that is, and certainly expertise knowledge that is better or more than what I'm offering, please jump in and add that to the comments. It will be much appreciated by myself, and I'm sure much appreciated by any viewers or who are wanting to learn how to do this style themselves. For those who are, I would just say, jump in there and do it. That's, I had wanted to do this for a while. I tried one project. I was bitten. This is really fun. And this particular design for this box, I'm doing it in neutral colors. So it's a neutral design, but it's so much better than what it would have been with just the plain off-white paint with a little bit of distressing. Don't you agree? One of the things that's made me relax about doing this style is the checks don't have to be perfect. The lines don't have to be perfect when you're drawing straight lines. You can come back and always correct anything. If you draw your line over the part that's supposed to be the lighter shade or the darker shade, you can always come back and correct that. It's really easy to do. And what I'm doing is I'm going around and I'm just doing the one check at a time with just one stroke. I'll come back once that's dried and do another stroke, go in a different direction. That's going to help me clean up some of the lines. I turn my box whichever way I need to make it more convenient for me to reach the square that I'm trying to paint. And it goes pretty fast, as you can see here. I do have the speed a little fast on here than the real time, but it really goes by fast. I mean, and if you're like me, when there's a paintbrush in my hand, I'm calm and relaxed and in my element. Off camera, I used the plaster to fill in the white checks and also clean it up a bit. And as you can see, it also helped to cover those pencil marks more so. After the paint had dried, I took a light sandpaper over it. I wanted to distress the edges just a little bit. And I also wanted to kind of smooth down the checks. I had added so much paint in there that some of them had gotten a little bit messy. And so here it is before adding the gold pen that I put around the squares. And I added a little rub and buff to the design on the top. And this is how it turned out. I went a little heavy-handed with the gold, and I wish I had not done that, but I needed a finer tip gold paint pen for that. But it's worked out fine, I think. I think it turned out cute, and I'll be putting it in my booth. So tell me what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for sticking with me through this chaos of the remodeling. I hope to have that behind me in the near future. And if you got any inspiration from this video, please like, subscribe if you haven't done that already. Leave a comment, and if you feel so inclined, share my page with your friends so that they can join in on the fun that we're having, right? We're having fun. All right, guys. See you all next time.